Okay, so hello, composers, and welcome to another kind of live composing thing here, live arranging, more like it today. We're going to be working on a little waltz here. I call it a waltz in a manger. And this is for a Christmas thing that I have going on. It is a Halloween and Christmas album that is going to be delivered today, with any luck, to one of my libraries, one of my sync libraries that has expressed interest in this. So trying just to finish up this last song. So I thought I would let you in and let you kind of watch this last song and see how it goes. Now, I will be mostly just working in Logic, trying to come up with, as I was getting ready to print this yesterday, I was like, it just needs one more thing. It's got basses. Let's go in and actually look at what is going on in this. And again, I'm in Logic, and so let's just go down through the list and let me show you what I am using here for this song. So I'm starting out with piano, and strangely, the piano, look at this. We just talked about this last week, or 2 weeks ago, I am using one of the new studio pianos from, I don't know if you can see that actually. I might have to let you see my whole screen so that comes up, because I don't know if that's going to come up. Let's see. Yes, it does. So you are seeing that, and not much in the way. This is the vintage upright. That's one of the new studio pianos in Logic. And for some reason, really nice pedal sound in it. Just has an old type of sound. And even though this is orchestral, I just felt like this was a cool way to I kind of made this first on piano as I was putting this together. I kind of just sketched it on piano, and I left the piano in. Oftentimes when I am sketching something that I'm going to orchestrate, I will take out the initial instrument I used to sketch it, if it was like a piano, and just orchestrate all of those parts. But in this instance, I just decided to leave it in because it has its own little part. And so the piano is the first thing. Second thing, I'm going to get this better. Second thing is the Celesta. And the Celeste is just from Logic. It's just a Logic one, and I just think it works very nice. Could probably get something a little bit more defined if you wanted to, but for this arrangement, it works very well. And then we get into the woodwinds, and I start with some Logic flutes, and then I add on some Orchestral Tools flutes. I tell you what, something I bought that I really love. I bought, and I'm going to be buying more of it this Christmas season, but when they do their big sales at Orchestral Tools, I really love this woodwinds soloist, low winds, and so you can see I can bring up a solo flute, solo clarinet. They have all sorts of things. Let me just browse that so you can see all the solo woodwinds they have. They have solo flute, solo alto flute, solo oboe, solo English horn, and solo clarinet. And so I love doing ensemble work. And I love adding a lead player with a section, because to me that brings in a lot of I don't know, just clarity, especially, like, for instance, if you only have the free BBCSO Discover Orchestra, which we talked about in the last video, and I'll try to put that in the links below. I'll put the links below to the last two videos because I'm going to be using those in this a little bit today. But if you only have the BBCSO Orchestra, you might want to have some solo instruments to kind of get a close mic sound and mix it with your free orchestra that you have. But I just like these sounds, and of course I do a lot of chamber works where it only has soloists all playing. But I also have, by the way, all this stuff in the middle is free from Orchestral Tools at Sign. So if you want some free stuff, they have the free layers, which is strings, And then I think let's see, it's all of the orchestra. Now these aren't individual instruments; it's just woodwinds, but you can play chords and things like that. It's I haven't really found it that usable, but it is free. At least it's free. And then there's other free instruments they have, free string ensemble, free other things. But the similar version of what I got with the woodwinds is available by Berlin Strings First Chair. So I'm going to pick up the rest of the first chairs very soon, cello, bass, and violin 1 and 2. And so then I'll have strings and winds, all first chairs, and I think there is a brass first chairs as well. So I'll probably do that because I think Orchestral Tools is very quality stuff. I can barely reach my T. I think it's very quality stuff, and I highly suggest Orchestral Tools. They make good stuff. All right, so welcome to the 4 of you who are in here with me. We're going to be doing some arranging of Halloween Christmas music, mainly to try to put some cellos in and put this song to bed. I might even show you how I master it if you stick around long enough. We shouldn't be here more than an hour because I got things to do. But right now, I'm just kind of going through and showing you what I'm using in this piece. All right, secondly, I'm using so there's an Orchestral Tools flute, and then I get into clarinets, which, again, I must have, when I first put this together, sometimes I will put this together only in Logic because I'm in a place where I only have Logic with me. And so you can see a lot of Logic instruments here, the clarinet section, which, again, is not too bad. But when I mix it with clarinets from the Orchestral Tools, provides a lot more realism, and then you combine them together, and the realism plus the fatness works together. I've got Orchestral Tools Bassoon. And Logic Bassoon. What I like about some of the Logic instruments is that they are very close mic'd, and so the reverb you hear, by the way, is my normal reverb that I use, which is Space Designer, which is a Logic plugin, and it's the scoring stage. You may have seen me use the scoring stage plugin before on Space Designer, which is the Logic reverb. Then we have the English horn. This is just a beautiful sound. This is by Orchestral Tools as well. So I use that as a solo instrument here. Then I have the Logic harp. You can't go wrong with the Logic harp. You could probably find, I actually went and looked at the Sena harp, and it just didn't strike me the same for this particular song, because this is kind of just a little thing that's playing throughout this whole piece. I did use one little Musio thing right here, which is this little gliss for this one part here. Oh, okay. Musio, what are you doing? Where are you? Oh. Ooh, look, Musio's having a problem. Musio's having a problem, which is not good. Does that mean all my Musio's having a problem? Yes. Connection. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Let's just go down to Musio Connect. I did just update Musio yesterday, so Musio Connect may be having a problem. It's one downside of using online instruments. If you are using an online company, you might have issues with it. Now, it doesn't seem to be having any issues right now on Musio Connect. So, don't know. But anyway, I am using this little tremolo, this little harp gliss. Let's see if it works now. it's back. Okay, so I'm using this little harp gliss, which I think it's magical. It's a little magical. So just use that for that little music, that little harp gliss right there. Then I have some tremolo strings right here. Where are they? This is Complete Control, Albion 1. I gotta find out where on the keyboard they are. I don't hear them. Where are my sounds? Luckily, this is on my... So I'll load it back up there, and let's hear it now. It's very high tremolo strings. And then I've got some Albion strings. And they play throughout. And then later on, other Albion strings, Musio strings. Let's see if these Musio strings are playing. Seems like Musio's back up and running now. And then down below, I've got some pizzicato strings. I've got a bunch of violas and then some pizzicato strings that are just playing a little pizz part. That's a combination of Albion 1 pizzicato and BBCSO Discover pizzicato. And I decided to use the violin 2s for that. And then as you'll see, this is where it gets weird. I have basses, which are fine. Basses kind of start up from the beginning. And I'm using both Logic basses, which sound like this. And then I'm adding in this Musio. So it just gives it a fatter sound. All right, so now here I am with all of this stuff. Bradford Knights is in the house. Thank you, Bradford. I appreciate that. Bradford says, sounds hauntingly, let's put it up here, sounds hauntingly beautiful. Well, good. It's supposed to be hauntingly beautiful, so hopefully you'll think that as we go here. So my goal here, now that I've shown you what I have everywhere, and I just realized I was in the way. I'm always in the way. Eric, you're always in the way. But this was what I was talking about with the basses down here. And as you can see, there's a bit of a disconnect because we've got flutes, clarinets, English horn, and bassoon. That's not in the right order. Let's put the English horn up in the correct order under the clarinets, and then bassoon, and then we've got some percussion, the Logic harp, and the harp gliss, and then we move into strings. And unless you may or may not know this, but score has a very specific way it's supposed to be listed as far as where everything sits in the score. Some of you know this. Some of you may not know this. I didn't know this before I went back for my master's. I had no idea of the score order. But now that I do, I pretty much put everything in score order. And if that's the case, I should probably put piano down here in the middle. Probably under the harp, piano, probably under the harp. So that's score order starts with woodwinds at the top, flutes, piccolos are at the top. The celeste needs to come down. And so we have flutes coming down all the way through clarinets, English horns, bassoons. Then we get into the percussion, and so percussion and harp and piano all are going to be in this area here. So we've got the harp and the harp gliss and the celeste and the piano. There's probably some order I'm missing there, but then the rest is strings. So there's no horns in this. I just thought this needed to be very light and mysterious, and I thought even French horns might be a little much, and so I kept this just strings and winds, which I think, I mean, you could literally put horns in, French horns, and they would qualify in some ways as winds, but I decided not to do that. But as you can see down here in my strings, there is a lot of strings, violins and violas, and then there's basses. There's something missing here. If you have violins and you have violas and you have basses, there's something missing there, right? What is it? Well, the answer, my friends, is cellos. And as I'm fond of saying, there's always room for cello. So let's see a question here. Where are my questions? Bradford Knight says, did you write this on piano originally? And yes, I did. I wrote it on piano first and kind of sketched out the arrangement, and then I began adding in, I think I played the English horn. I can't remember how I think it was piano, then basses, and then probably the, let's see here, yeah, and then I added the celeste and the harp. And that was the beginning of this thing. That's all it was. And only recently have I gone in and put some pits in to kind of break it up after 8 bars, and then break it up again with the tremolo leading into the English horn solo. And then at some point it goes into kind of a B section, and then the strings kind of take over at the end, along with the celeste and the English horn. They all come back in together. But there's something missing in this, and it's cello. And like we say, there's always room for cello. So let's add some. And this is where we get into something that I call auditions. And so eventually, yes, that's right, cello is what has to happen here. And so we get into what I call auditions, and it's time for cello auditions. And so I'm going to, there's several ways in Logic you can add. You can go up here to the plus sign, you can add a track up here, but usually I'm just too lazy and I just double click here and say new software track. Actually, let's do something different there. Let's delete that. I'm going to just go to, see, this is cello. So my best cello sounds, I feel like this needs to be a group of cellos and not a solo cello. And so I think I'm going to go to one of the places where I have cellos. And in my case right now, that would be Musio. And I mean just cellos. There's nothing else. Albion 1 is a great program, and I use it. I'm using it a little bit here just because it's a great program from Spitfire Audio that lets you call up like some great sounds. But I don't. It also will a lot of times create. How do I get rid of you? A lot of times it will also add in a bunch of different sounds like flutes, and it'll use all low strings or all high strings. It's very undefined. It sounds very pro, and so it's really nice to use. But sometimes it's just really undefined, and so I think I'm going to go to a solo section, and so I could use cellos from Logic. Let's see what those look like. And so I've got, where's a Logic instrument? Here's the basses. I'm just going to new track with duplicate settings. That way I know that my reverb is coming through. Got that all set, and I can go to strings here, and I can click on strings. I hope you're seeing all this. And then I can go to cellos, and then inside cellos I can decide what kind of articulation I'm going to use. And you'll decide this in any kind of program that you're using. You will decide to, I'm in the way again. Why am I always in the way? Always in the way. Is there any place to put me? I'm going to make me smaller, and maybe I can put me way over here and just make it a little smaller so I don't be in the way all the time. Way down here. So, yeah, back to the cellos. It says basses up here. That's just what it's called. whatever program you're going to use, whether it's going to be sometimes I will just go to Logic because Logic has good, like, we've talked about this on past videos on this channel, and you can see that if you just go back a few videos where I talk about sketching with Logic. And it's because, especially with strings and with some horns and with its woodwinds, actually. I mean, it could use its own woodwinds instrument. That would be great. But the sampler has some decent woodwinds in it. It's fine for sketching sometimes, especially if you're out and about and you don't have your sound library with you and you don't have Musio, or you don't have anything, BBCSO, that's all on another drive. For some reason, you don't have those. It's great for sketching because it's got a lot of articulations, specifically sustain, staccato, spiccato, and pizzicato, which are usually where I start with these songs. Usually spiccato or pizzicato. And cello is a very needed instrument for me when I'm putting this together. So let's just start with sustain and see. Seems like stuff is missing in this range down here, but I think that's going to come in somewhere with these other strings. By the way, the keyboard I'm using today is a Native Instruments S61 Mark II. It is it is part of the Komplete control system, and I'm going to move the cellos up into this area, so even move them a little lower. So I'm sitting here in the middle of the keyboard. Something tells me I kind of need this to be a middle C. Between the two C's. And this is in C minor, by the way. So, so many options. Yeah, there are a lot of options in Logic's articulations, but you should have at least 3 options all the time. So, for instance, if I called up this BBCSO, even with it's fairly limited, but you at least have options of longs, spiccato, pizzicato, and tremolo, which is nice. I mean, it kind of gives you shorts and long of every instrument, even though this is not quite, when you move up to the full version of Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra, which, by the way, if you want to see a great video about this, Dave Croft just did a fantastic video showing off the full version of BBC Symphony Orchestra and made me want to buy it. And now, thanks, Dave, I have to buy that because it sounds great. I'm starting to use this BBC Symphony more and more as a filler to give me the sound of the hall, of the symphony hall that they record this in, and for the fact that it's just another option to fatten stuff up. But you should at least have these options when you are working with strings: longs, spiccato, pizzicato. Spiccato is kind of short, pizzicato is plucked, and tremolo is just so that's the technical term for it. So yeah, you should have those, but I'm just still trying to figure out what the cellos are going to do here. Let's see what our strings are doing here. I'm almost wondering if the cellos can't do some kind of downward walk here. Hold on a second. I mean, the bass is already doing something like this, but kind of Debussy. No, I think they're just gonna. I was thinking about Debussy, where you're using two at one time. All Debussy means is one, a set of players is watching two different notes, and the first cellos take over the top part, and the second cellos take over the bottom part, or vice versa. And but I think I'm just going to do one line of cellos and see how that sounds. As you can tell, all of those violins and violas, they're really kind of doing a lead together as an orchestra. So I could have the cello play that an octave down. Let's try that and see what it sounds like. Okay, there's kind of octaves. Let's try octaves, but I'm going to need to turn everything on to see how this is going to sound. That it's, I think it's adding in the top range. And we need a new sound. Auditions! Cello auditions! All right, it's time for cello auditions. Let's move to Musio, and let's see what Musio has to offer us in cellos. Musio is really easy to use. You basically just call it up, and it starts right on the catalog. So you can just type in cello, and it brings you all the cello sounds that you might want to use. So let's look at cellos rather than just cello. And by the way, it plays a sample for you over here if you want to. Let's play that section and see what that sounds like instead of what I was playing on Logic. Here's where I would go into something like what the clarinets are playing, which is the but there's a harmony that happens here, I think. What I find with cello is if you're any kind of male singer and you can sing as low as you can sing and as high as you can sing and higher is where you want the cello to be voiced. At least that's kind of my thinking about it. I kind of feel like that's where I want cellos to sing. So I have them off right now. Let's change the name. Here's what we're working on. We don't know which cellos we're going to use yet, but so far, right now we're on Musio. I think there's 2 lines. I think there is a cello line that could go. First of all, this so I think this is cellos 1. And we're going to go just do the melody with cellos 1. So let's try that. Too far back. Let's try the melody with cellos 1. Cheat. Sometimes it's good to cheat. And I'm going to move me again. Now that we know what we're doing, I'm going to take me out. I'm going to bring these clarinets here. And I don't know if this is going to work because I think they're playing octaves. Let's see what this sounds like. No, I'll have to play it again because the cello's gonna have to play a little differently, more like. So I'm playing a legato patch here, so I'll have to. No cheating for me. Gonna have to play it. I think this kind of worked here. And even though I have violas playing this, listen what happens when I add the cellos in. Strengthens it, maybe just a hair bit, makes it sound a little lower. So I think I will keep that in, and let's move from there. think that's going to be something like that. Now, before I forget it, I'm going to add I'm just going to duplicate that track. I'm going to call this Cellos 2. And for Cellos 2, also going to use this Musio instrument. Actually, do I have another? Let's, usually what I will do in this situation is I will have the same instrument play it again, except now I'm going to do this, which is kind of what the basses are doing. Let's see what that sounds like. If I play an octave below that. Cello is a very expressive instrument. So it's about a 3.5 octave range for the cello. Let's try it an octave down. I don't think it's going to work. I think if the cellos are going to do anything there, they're going to have to be another articulation, maybe like spiccato or something. I think for here, I'm going to just play. Just got to watch that B right there. It's just a little too dissonant if I am too loud with it. Need to fix up the end there a little bit. But I think this is doing what I wanted to do. There was just a part missing. You've got the basses, and you've got the piano playing in the mid-range, and you've got the piano was kind of taking up the mid-range. That's why I didn't know the cellos were missing at first, because I'm playing two hands on the piano. And the basses were there, but then you had all the high flutes and clarinets, and you had some bassoon, which is also playing a similar part probably. If I compare that to what I just played on the cello, and I did the same thing on the cello, which makes sense because cellos and bassoons are kind of the same type of instrument tone-wise. When you think about their range, a lot of times the cello is playing low and high notes, and the bassoon can do the same thing. And so many times I find I am echoing what I am doing. And if I look at the section there with the bassoon, likely this is just walking down chromatically. With the basses, and likely the piano. Yeah, the piano's kind of playing that walk down too. So I think this is doing what I needed it to do. It's filling out the song. So let's listen to the whole song before we go. If you have any questions, there's not that many people here. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. But any thoughts on this, I would love to hear your thoughts. It'll probably be too late by the time. If you listen after today, I will have probably printed this. I got to fix up the cellos that I've just done. But I think this is going to finish up this arrangement for me. The cellos probably will need to be replayed. I'll go through them with a fine-tooth comb before I mix this thing out. Okay, so definitely some things to do here to this arrangement, and I'm very happy with it, and I think it's going to be ready to go. Oops, and it's on a loop. I'm going to be very happy with it, I think, and I'm not going to get into mastering today. I have a hard out at 1 o'clock. I try to keep these under an hour. It's thank you for if you're watching this down the line, or if you looked at it today. I appreciate you watching, and I hope this has helped you a little bit. If you'd like to, if there are certain things about this that you love, as far as that you heard, and that especially in the way that I'm showing off, the way I'm doing it, let me know and put it in the comments. Also, give me a like so that other people will see this, and hopefully this will help other people as they are trying to decide. The cellos are a very important mid to low instrument that is very much like the baritones in not in an orchestra, or the trombones or the bassoons, anything that occupies that low mid range. Obviously they can go higher or lower, but I think this was just something that was missing in this song. So I wanted to just talk about how I was going to fit it in. As you could tell, there were two different parts I kind of did. One kind of just playing along with the melody, and another one added in to kind of walk down chromatically with the arrangement of this song. So that's what I did on cello. There's always room for cello. Make sure you give this video a like, folks, if you get a chance. And thanks so much for watching. And we will see you next time on Hello Composers. And so, goodbye, composers. See you next time.